Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The air inside the courtroom was heavy, as though the walls themselves carried judgment. Every sound, the shuffle of papers, the cough of an old clerk, the squeak of a chair, felt amplified in Amara's ears. She sat at the long wooden bench, hands clasped so tightly in her lap that her knuckles turned pale. Her heart hammered against her chest, but her face betrayed nothing. She refused to give her enemies the satisfaction of seeing her break. The judge adjusted his glasses, flipping through the final pages of the divorce file. This court, having reviewed all presented evidence and submissions, hereby dissolves the marriage between Tunde Adeyemi and Amara Adeyemi. His gavel struck once, sharp, final and cruelly indifferent. Amara's breath hitched, but she didn't flinch. She felt the weight of years collapse in a single moment. The laughter they once shared, the promises made at the altar, the long nights of sacrifice, all shattered into meaningless dust. From across the room, Tunde smirked. His charcoal suit was perfectly tailored, his gold wristwatch catching the light as if mocking her. Seated beside him was Cynthia, the woman who had once been Amara's friend, now draped in expensive silk, her arm hooked possessively through Tunde's. The two looked like royalty, untouched by shame. Finally, Cynthia whispered loudly enough for the room to hear, her glossy lips curling. "She's out of our way." A ripple of laughter rolled through the benches where Tunde's family sat. His mother, Mama Funk, folded her arms and leaned back with smug satisfaction. "We told him," she muttered to an aunt nearby. "That girl had nothing to offer. See now, leaving with empty hands. Finished." The words sliced through Amara, but she stared ahead at the judge, her face frozen in quiet defiance. She wanted to scream, to defend herself, to remind them of the years she had poured into Tunde's dreams while setting hers aside. But she swallowed the urge. When the clerk announced, "Case closed," everyone stood. Tunde rose like a man triumphant, adjusting his tie. Cynthia giggled and pressed a mocking kiss against his cheek. The sound of her laughter clung to Amara like smoke. As she stood, clutching the small handbag that held her only belongings, a phone with a cracked screen, her mother's rosary and a few folded documents, her legs trembled. But she walked with measured steps, her heels clicking against the tiled floor. "Amara," a soft voice called. It was Kemi, her childhood friend, who had attended in quiet support. "Do you need me to come with you?" Amara shook her head. "No. They've taken everything but not my dignity. I'll walk out myself." Kemi's eyes watered, but she let her go. As Amara reached the courtroom door, Cynthia's voice rang out one last time. "Don't forget your suitcase, darling." "Oh wait, what's inside it?" "Old dresses and dust." Laughter erupted again. Amara stopped. Her throat tightened, but she did not turn. She inhaled deeply, her mother's voice echoing in her heart. "Daughter, storms will come, but never let them see you drown." She straightened her back, pushed open the heavy door, and stepped outside into the blinding sun. The courtyard was buzzing with people. Lawyers in black robes, families in colorful attire, hawkers weaving through with snacks, all moving in stark contrast to Amara's stillness. She stood at the edge of the steps, staring down at the life waiting for her. Tunde's shiny black SUV was parked just ahead, driver already holding the door. Cynthia climbed in first, waving mockingly at Amara. "Enjoy the bus ride," she sneered before slamming the door. The engine purred and the car glided away, leaving Amara in a swirl of dust. She adjusted the strap of her worn handbag, picked up her modest suitcase, a faded brown box with frayed edges, and walked toward the bus stop outside the courthouse. Each step echoed the reality she now faced. No home of her own, no savings. Tunde had emptied their joint account before the proceedings, and no one to lean on except herself. A group of women selling snacks whispered as she passed. "Isn't that Tunde's ex-wife?" "Yes, oh, the one he left for Cynthia. Imagine her, coming down to our level now." "She's finished," another said, shaking her head with mock pity. Amara's cheeks burned, but she kept her gaze forward. At the bus stop, the humiliation deepened. The bench was already crowded with passengers, some clutching plastic bags, others balancing baskets. A conductor shouted the destinations, waving his arms with urgency. "Ojota. Ojota straight. Enter, enter. No change, oh." The bus that screeched to a halt before them was battered, its paint peeling, metal groaning as if tired of life. Amara hesitated. Once she had ridden in luxury cars. Now she was about to squeeze into this rickety van like a woman stripped of worth. Still she climbed in. The stench of sweat and dust filled her nose. She squeezed into a corner seat, suitcase on her lap. People nudged her impatiently, the conductor shouting, "Shift small. Shift." Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. A message from an unknown number flashed. "Cynthia, hope the seat isn't too tight. That's your level now. Good luck selling Accra by the roadside." Amara's fingers trembled. She locked the screen, refusing to reply. Her eyes blurred with tears as she looked out the window. The city rolled by, street hawkers darting between cars, billboards flaunting wealth, children in school uniforms running along pavements. She thought of everything she had given, her youth, her labor, her love. And what had she received in return? Betrayal. Mockery. Nothing. Her chest heaved. She wanted to weep openly, to bury her face in her hands. But just then a hand touched her arm. She turned. It was an older woman sitting beside her, wrapped in a faded wrapper, her face etched with lines of wisdom. The woman handed her a small bottle of water and a folded piece of paper. Amara blinked. "For me?" The woman nodded. "You looked like you needed it." With trembling hands, Amara unfolded the paper. Written in shaky handwriting were 5 words, "Don't let them decide your ending." Amara's breath caught. She pressed the paper to her chest, her tears spilling at last, not from shame but from the sudden spark of hope. She whispered to herself so quietly that only she could hear, "They think I'm finished. But this is not my end." The bus lurched forward, carrying her into an uncertain future. Yet in that moment, for the first time since the gavel struck, Amara felt something stir deep within, an ember of defiance, small but unbreakable. Her journey had just begun. The rickety bus shook as it lurched forward, metal screeching with each gear shift. Amara sat squeezed between a sweating man with a radio and a mother nursing her baby. Her faded suitcase rested on her lap, its edges digging into her thighs, but she didn't move. Moving might draw more attention, and she had already caught enough. The city's noise filtered in through open windows, car horns blaring, hawkers shouting, the occasional preacher declaring doom. But louder than all of it were the whispers and stares. "That's her, isn't it?" someone murmured. "Yes, oh, Tun's ex-wife. See how she's now inside bus like us. After enjoying that man's money, now she's back to square one. God day punish proud people." Amara's chest tightened. She kept her face toward the window, but the humiliation was suffocating. Only hours ago she'd walked out of court with nothing. No house, no savings, no pride. Now she was a spectacle. Her phone buzzed again. She hesitated before looking. Another message from Cynthia. "Cynthia, hope you're comfortable, Amara. That's your place now. While I sit in air conditioning, you sit in sweat." Her lips trembled, but she forced herself to lock the screen. Suddenly the bus jolted to a stop. A young boy selling sachet water ran past, shouting, "Pure water. 10 naira." The older woman who had given Amara the note earlier leaned forward. "My daughter drinks small. Life is long. Don't let them break you," she said softly. Amara nodded, tears welling. "Thank you, Ma." For the first time that day she allowed herself to breathe. As the bus rumbled on, she looked out at the city, the crowded markets, the women frying Accra on the roadside, the men pushing wheelbarrows stacked with goods. She realized something important. She wasn't the only one struggling. And if they could survive with dignity, maybe so could she. She whispered, barely audible, "I will rise again." The words steadied her heart. When the bus finally reached her stop, she climbed down with her suitcase. Behind her, laughter still echoed, but this time, it didn't crush her as much. It fueled her resolve. The hot afternoon sun beat down mercilessly as Amara stepped off the bus. Dust swirled around her feet, clinging to her shoes. She paused at the bus stop, clutching the little note the old woman had given her. "Don't let them decide your ending." She read it again and again, each word digging deeper into her soul. "Madam, I beg you day block road," a man grumbled, brushing past. Amara quickly stepped aside, holding her suitcase closer. She felt small, invisible, but the note reminded her she wasn't defeated yet. A soft voice pulled her back. It was the same older woman from the bus. She had followed her down, balancing a basket on her head. "My daughter," she said warmly, "your eyes still day cry. Wipe it. Tears no go feed you." Amara swallowed hard. I don't know what to do next. I gave everything to that man, and he left me with nothing." The woman smiled faintly. "Good. Then you have nothing to lose. That means your tomorrow is empty, ready for you to fill it yourself." Amara's lips parted, but she couldn't reply. The woman pressed a sachet of water into her hand. "Start small. Even if it is selling puff puff by the roadside, start. Don't sit down and die. Amara's eyes stung again. Why are you helping me? Because once upon a time I was where you are. The woman adjusted her basket and began walking away. Remember, daughter, endings are only for books. In life we start again. Amara stood frozen, her chest rising and falling quickly. She felt as if God himself had sent this stranger to remind her she wasn't buried, only planted. For the first time since the courtroom she allowed herself to imagine a future. Not with Tund, not with Cynthia, but with herself. Amara dragged her suitcase along the narrow, dusty lane toward her late mother's old house. The small compound had once been filled with laughter, her mother's warm voice and the smell of pepper soup. Now it was just cracked walls, a sagging roof and weeds curling through broken tiles. The neighbors noticed her arrival. And Amara is back, one woman whispered. With what? Nothing. She went to marry rich, now she's back to suffer. Ah, God forbid such disgrace. Amara ignored them, though their words cut deep. She unlocked the rusty gate and stepped into the compound. The house smelled of dust and abandonment. She coughed, covering her nose with her scarf. Setting her suitcase down, she whispered, "Mama, I'm home." She walked through the rooms slowly, memories hitting her in waves. Her mother's laughter, the nights they prayed together, the promises Amara had made to do her proud. That evening, she sat on the bare floor with only a candle for light. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. She found a few old clothes folded in a trunk and decided to sell them the next morning. Just enough to buy food, she told herself. It was humiliating, but it was survival. The next morning, Amara spread the old clothes on a small mat in the market. Shoppers passed, some stopping briefly, most ignoring. She earned just enough for rice and beans. Back at home she decided to cook. She pulled out her late mother's old recipe book, its pages yellowed but intact. Amara had once loved cooking, but marriage had swallowed her dreams. She made a small pot of jollof rice with her unique blend of spices. The aroma drifted out of the compound. Soon, a neighbor poked her head through the gate. "Ah, this food smells too sweet. Are you selling?" Amara blinked. "No, but I could." The neighbor handed her money for a plate. That evening, 2 more neighbors came. Amara stared at the empty pot in shock. For the first time in years, her heart beat with excitement. Maybe, just maybe, she had found her way out. Word spread quickly. Amara's food became a small sensation in the neighborhood. Every afternoon, workers stopped by for her smoky jollof, her peppered chicken, her akara. One day, a man in a crisp shirt approached. "Are you Amara?" "Yes," she said nervously. "My name is Mr. Okon. I work at an office nearby. We need someone to cater lunch for 20 staff tomorrow. Can you handle it?" Amara's heart raced. 20? Yes. If it's good, we'll hire you again. That night she barely slept. She cooked with trembling hands, praying over every pot. The next day she delivered. Hours later Mr. Okon called. "They loved it. We'll need you every week." Amara pressed the phone to her chest, tears streaming. It was a small step, but to her it was a miracle. One sweltering afternoon, as Amara served food at her roadside stand, a familiar SUV slowed. Tund and Cynthia. Cynthia rolled down the window, smirking. "Selling stew now? How pitiful." Tund laughed. "From my wife to a cook on the street. God is good." The SUV roared away, leaving dust in her face. Amara's lips quivered, but she clenched her fists. "Laugh now," she whispered. "You won't laugh forever." The humiliation stung, but deep down, it became her fuel. After months of saving, Amara rented a tiny stall. She painted the wooden sign herself, "Mama Grace's Kitchen," after her mother. Customers flocked. She introduced new recipes and soon people lined up daily. She could pay her bills without begging. One night she sat in the stall, writing in her journal, "One day I will own a restaurant." She underlined it twice. For the first time her dream felt possible. Just when things looked steady, disaster struck. A storm blew off half the stall's roof, drenching her supplies. The next week, a supplier cheated her, delivering rotten tomatoes. Amara broke down in tears, convinced she was cursed. Then she remembered the note from the old woman, "Don't let them decide your ending." She wiped her tears, rolled up her sleeves and rebuilt. Neighbors watched in awe. Customers returned, even more loyal. Her resilience became her silent advertisement. The morning sun streamed through the cracks of Amara's small stall. She was exhausted but determined, stirring a pot of smoky egusi soup while customers waited outside. The rhythm of her days had become predictable. Cook, serve, save, dream. "Madam Amara, I beg one more plate," a construction worker shouted. "One moment," she replied, wiping sweat from her brow. She ladled soup into bowls, her heart swelling with pride. Who would have thought that the woman once mocked in court would be running a food stall that had become the talk of the neighborhood? As the crowd dispersed, a well-dressed woman stepped out of a sleek car nearby. She looked out of place, pearls at her neck, heels clicking against the uneven ground. People parted, whispering. Who is that? She looks rich. What's she doing here? The woman approached Amara's stall and smiled. You must be Amara. Yes, Ma, Amara said cautiously. I'm Mrs. Bello. I've heard about your food. They say your recipes are unforgettable. May I try? Amara nodded nervously and served her. Mrs. Bello sat at one of the wobbly plastic chairs and tasted the soup. Her eyes widened and she took another spoonful, then another. This, she said, placing the spoon down, is remarkable. You could feed kings with this flavor. Amara's cheeks flushed. Thank you, Ma. I just cooked the way my mother taught me. Mrs. Bello leaned forward. Have you ever considered opening a proper restaurant? Amara froze. Restaurant? I dream of it, but I don't have the means. Dreams are meant to be built, Mrs. Bello replied. She pulled out a card. Come to my office tomorrow. I'll introduce you to people who can help. Amara stared at the card in disbelief. Why me? Mrs. Bello smiled. Because talent like yours deserves the world. And because once upon a time I was where you are now. Someone gave me a chance. It's my turn to do the same. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. She pressed the card to her chest, whispering a prayer of gratitude. For the first time her dream didn't feel distant, it felt near. The next day, Amara sat nervously in Mrs. Bello's office, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The room smelled of leather and polished wood, filled with awards and photos of Mrs. Bello with dignitaries. Relax, Amara, Mrs. Bello said warmly. You belong here. A group of investors entered, curious about the woman with the magical recipes. Amara's voice shook as she introduced herself, but when they asked her to describe her food, passion took over. I cook with memory, she said. Every spice tells a story, every dish is a legacy from my mother. When people eat my food, I don't want them to just taste. It should remind them of home, of belonging. The room went silent. One investor finally nodded. We'll back her. Within weeks, with Mrs. Bello's guidance, Amara secured a small loan. She rented a modest space in the city, painted the walls a welcoming yellow, and hung her mother's photo by the door. She named it Mama Grace's Kitchen, the same as her stall, but this time it was bigger, brighter, bolder. On opening day, customers flooded in. Journalists wrote features, from broken marriage to business star. Amara's name began to spread beyond her street. That night, as she stood in the middle of her bustling restaurant, tears ran freely. Mama, I did it, she whispered. For the first time in years she felt whole again. The restaurant was thriving. Laughter filled the air, and the aroma of Amara's dishes drew in customers daily. She had little time to think of Tund and Cynthia, until the past walked right through her doors. It was a Saturday afternoon when Amara saw them. Tund, still dressed sharply, though with slight bags under his eyes, and Cynthia, glittering in sequins. They paused at the entrance, stunned at the bustling crowd. Wait, this is Amara's place? Cynthia hissed. Tund swallowed hard. It can't be. But it was. Amara stood behind the counter, taking orders with calm authority. Amara. Cynthia called out, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. What a surprise. Amara met her gaze coolly. Not really. This is my restaurant. You're welcome to eat like everyone else. The crowd sensed the tension. Tund cleared his throat. This is impressive. Maybe we could, talk business sometime? Amara tilted her head. Business? You mean the kind where you mock people by the roadside? I'm afraid my calendar is full. Cynthia flushed with anger, but Amara simply turned back to her staff, dismissing them with grace. For the first time the power had shifted. Success multiplied quickly. Mama Grace's Kitchen expanded to 2 more outlets. Amara hired women from broken homes, giving them steady jobs and dignity. One of her new staff, Ngozi, cried as she received her first paycheck. Madam, I never thought I'd earn enough to send my children to school. God bless you. Amara hugged her tightly. We rise by lifting others. Her story reached newspapers and TV stations. She was invited for interviews, her words inspiring thousands of women who thought their lives were over after betrayal. You're becoming a hero, Mrs. Bello said one evening. I just don't want any woman to feel the way I once did, Amara replied. And she meant it. Meanwhile, Cynthia could not accept Amara's rise. She pushed Tund to invest in a rival restaurant, hoping to outshine her. "This is how we prove we're better," Cynthia declared. Reluctantly, Tund agreed. But Cynthia had no talent for cooking and neither of them had Amara's touch. The restaurant opened with glamour but quickly collapsed under debt and poor management. "Customers keep going back to her," Cynthia screamed one night. "What does she have that I don't?" Tund sighed bitterly. "Everything." Soon their debts piled up. Creditors came knocking. They lost their cars, then their home. The glamorous life crumbled, leaving them bitter and broken. Meanwhile, Amara only grew stronger. One evening, Amara received a call. "This is the producer of Chef's Arena, an international cooking competition. We've heard of your story. Would you compete?" Her breath caught. "Compete? Abroad?" "Yes. It will be televised worldwide." Weeks later, Amara found herself boarding a plane for the first time in her life. She remembered the bus ride of shame, Cynthia's cruel texts, and the whispers that she was finished. Now she was flying business class, her name stitched proudly on her chef's jacket. The competition was fierce, chefs from Paris, New York, Tokyo, but Amara's flavors stunned the judges. She cooked with memory, with soul. In the final round, as cameras flashed, she presented her mother's signature dish. The judges rose in applause. "And the winner is Amara Grace Adeyemi." Tears spilled down her face. She lifted the trophy high, whispering, "Mama, this is for you." Back home, newspapers screamed, "The woman who rose from ashes to feed the world." Amara wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a global name. Amara's office in her newest restaurant was simple but elegant. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon and roasted peppers, her staff bustling outside with trays of steaming dishes. She sat at her desk, signing papers for her foundation when the receptionist's shaky voice came through the intercom. "Madam, there's a man here insisting to see you. He says his name is Tund." Amara froze. That name, once her everything, now just a scar. She inhaled slowly. "Let him in." The door opened. Tund entered, but he wasn't the man she remembered. His once polished suit was wrinkled, his shoes scuffed, his shoulders slumped. Gone was the arrogant husband who smirked in court. "Amara," he said, his voice low. "You look radiant." She leaned back, folding her arms. "What do you want, Tund?" He swallowed. I came to ask for help." Her brows arched. "Help?" "Yes." His voice cracked. "Cynthia left me. Creditors are after me. I've lost everything, the cars, the house, the company. I can't even pay rent." Amara tilted her head, studying him. She remembered the sneers, the roadside mockery, the way he left her with nothing. "You once told me I was finished," she said softly. "Do you remember?" Tund's eyes filled with shame. "I was blind. Foolish. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. Please, Amara, forgive me. Give me another chance." Silence filled the room. The weight of his words hung heavy. Then Amara leaned forward, her tone calm but sharp as glass. "Tund, I am not your second chance. I am my own success. You threw me away, and in doing so, you threw away your future." He fell to his knees. "Please, just anything. A job, money, a place to sleep." She stood, walking past him toward the door. "No. What you're asking for is not mine to give. It's the consequence of your choices." She paused, turning back one last time. "I don't hate you, Tund. But I don't pity you either. You chose Cynthia. Live with that choice." She signaled for security. Tund's sobs echoed as they escorted him out. Amara closed the door behind her, exhaling deeply. She felt no triumph, only peace. For the first time she knew she was truly free. Tund stumbled down the street outside Amara's restaurant, his chest hollow. The city that once bowed at his feet now seemed to mock him. Every billboard reminded him of Amara, her restaurants, her smiling face on magazine covers, her new foundation for single mothers. He ended up at a dingy bar where Cynthia was waiting. Her sequins had dulled, her makeup smudged, her once proud posture replaced with bitterness. "You went to her, didn't you?" Cynthia spat, sipping cheap gin. "Yes," Tund admitted. "I begged." She refused. Cynthia laughed harshly. "Of course she refused. Do you think queens return to trash?" His hand slammed the table. "Watch your mouth." "Or what?" Cynthia sneered. "You can't even afford to pay for this drink. You're nothing, Tund. Nothing without her." He stared at her, hatred and regret warring inside him. Once he thought Cynthia was his prize. Now she was his ruin. Meanwhile, Amara thrived. She poured her energy into her business and her foundation. Women lined up outside her training center learning how to cook, sew, and manage money. One day Ngozi, the woman she had hired months ago, pulled her aside. "Madam, because of you my children are back in school. I thought my life was over after my husband left me, but you gave me hope." Amara hugged her tightly. "We don't stay down, Ngozi. We rise." The newspapers soon ran headlines: "Abandoned wife turns fortune builder." Tund read every article, each word cutting deeper. He walked past her billboard one night and whispered bitterly, "That life should have been mine." But deep down he knew the truth: he had thrown it all away. Amara stood before a crowd of women in a brightly lit hall, the banner behind her reading, "Grace Foundation Empowerment Seminar." The air buzzed with anticipation as women of all ages, widows, single mothers, abandoned wives, sat waiting to hear her story. She adjusted the microphone, her heart swelling with emotion. "My name is Amara Grace Adeyemi," she began. "Once I was left with nothing. My husband abandoned me. People mocked me. They said I was finished. But today I stand before you as proof that no one decides your ending but you." The hall erupted in applause. Amara continued, "This foundation exists to give you what I once wished I had. A chance. We will provide training, small loans, and mentorship. Together we will rise." After her speech, women lined up to thank her. One elderly woman grasped her hand tightly. "You are saving lives, my daughter. May God bless you." Later that evening she sat in her office, looking at her mother's photo on the wall. "Mama, I carried your name and it carried me back to life. Now I will carry others." Her phone buzzed. It was Mrs. Bello. "You're doing something remarkable, Amara," she said. "What you're building is bigger than a business, it's a legacy." Amara smiled through tears. "That's all I want. A legacy that outlives me." Meanwhile, Tund watched her on TV in a small roadside bar. The camera zoomed in on her radiant smile as she spoke about empowering women. Around him, patrons clapped and cheered. "She's an inspiration," one said. "From nothing to greatness," another added. Tund shrank into his seat, invisible. The woman he had discarded was now the woman the whole nation admired. And for the first time he realized, Amara no longer lived in his shadow. He lived in hers. The tinted glass of Amara's chauffeured car reflected the sprawling city outside. She sat quietly in the back seat, dressed in a flowing emerald gown, a pearl necklace resting against her skin. Her driver maneuvered through the familiar streets of Lagos with practiced ease, but Amara's mind was far away. She had just left a high-profile meeting with investors about expanding Mama Grace's kitchen into another African country. Applause, handshakes, contracts, it was all becoming normal now. But as the car slowed near Ojota, something tugged at her heart. "Madam, traffic is heavy here," her driver said apologetically. Amara glanced out the window. Her chest tightened. It was that bus stop. The same one where she had sat years ago, humiliated, clutching her suitcase while Cynthia's cruel text mocked her. "Stop the car," Amara said suddenly. The driver frowned. "Here, madam? It's crowded." "Yes." "Stop." The car eased to a halt. Amara stepped out, her heels clicking against the pavement. The sun was hot, the air thick with the smell of roasted corn and exhaust. Hawkers swarmed the buses shouting, "Pure water! Gala! Groundnut!" The noise, the chaos, it was exactly as she remembered. For a moment she wasn't the celebrated businesswoman. She was that broken woman again, sitting on a rickety bus, wondering if life had ended. Tears pricked her eyes. A hawker carrying bananas paused, staring at her elegant dress and car. "Auntie, I beg you day lost?" Amara smiled faintly. "No, my dear. I know this place very well." She walked slowly toward the exact spot where she had once sat. The bench was still there, worn down, its paint chipped. She reached out, touching it, and memories crashed in. The sneers of passengers. Cynthia's mocking messages. The stranger's note, "Don't let them decide your ending." Her throat tightened. "Madam, a beg shift small," a woman carrying a baby said as she tried to sit. Amara stepped aside, chuckling through her tears. "Of course. Sit." She stood watching as the woman adjusted her wrapper and calmed the crying child. That had been her once, struggling, unnoticed, surviving. But now she was different. She had turned her pain into power. Her phone buzzed. It was Ngozi, her staff member. "Madam, we're waiting for you at the foundation," Ngozi said. "The women are eager to meet you." "I'll be there soon," Amara replied softly. She ended the call and whispered to herself, "God, you brought me back here not to shame me but to remind me." A man nearby recognized her face. "Wait, Are you not Madame Amara from TV? Mama Grace herself? Others turned. Murmurs rippled. It's her, oh. See the car she came down from. From bus stop to billionaire. People began clapping spontaneously. A woman carrying oranges called out, God bless you, my sister. You give us hope. Amara pressed her palms together in gratitude, bowing slightly. She didn't feel pride, only humility. At that moment she noticed a frail old woman selling sachet water. Their eyes met and Amara's breath caught. She remembered the kind stranger on the bus, the one who had given her water and that powerful note. Could this be her? Amara approached. Mama, did you once give a young woman water at this bus stop? Years ago? The old woman squinted, then smiled faintly. I have given many people water, my daughter. But your face, yes, I remember. You were crying. Tears spilled down Amara's cheeks. Yes, Mama. That was me. She knelt before the woman, to the shock of onlookers. You gave me hope when I had nothing. Look at me now. I built restaurants, a foundation, a future. All because of a few words from you. The woman's lips trembled. Ah, God is good. So you did not let them finish you? No, Amara said firmly. I rose. She pulled out her purse, placing a thick envelope into the woman's trembling hands. This is for you. For the kindness you showed a stranger. The woman gasped, tears flowing. Bless you, my child. Amara embraced her gently, ignoring the curious stares. As she stood, she gazed at the bus stop one last time. Years ago, it had been a place of humiliation. Now it was holy ground, the place where her fire began. Her driver hurried to her side. Madam, we must go. The crowd is growing. Amara nodded, wiping her tears. She looked up at the sky, whispering, Thank you for the laughter, Lord. It gave me the fire to rise. As she stepped back into her car, people waved, shouting blessings. The car pulled away, leaving the bus stop behind. But Amara knew she would never forget it. Life had come full circle. She had returned not in shame, but in triumph. The ballroom glittered with golden chandeliers and crystal glasses clinking in celebration. Tonight was the National Businesswoman of the Year Gala, and the country's most powerful figures had gathered. Senators, governors, CEOs, they all sat at round tables, their eyes fixed on the stage where the award ceremony was about to begin. Amara sat near the front, dressed in a dazzling gown of royal blue silk. Her natural curls were styled in an elegant crown, her face glowing with quiet confidence. Around her sat Mrs. Bello Ngozi, and several women she had trained through her foundation. They clutched her hands, whispering encouragement. You deserve this, madam, Ngozi said, her eyes shining with pride. Amara smiled gently. We deserve it. This is for all of us. The host stepped to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor a woman whose story has inspired millions. A woman who rose from ashes, turned betrayal into brilliance, and lifted countless others along the way. Please rise for our Businesswoman of the Year, Amara Grace Adeyemi. Thunderous applause erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning as Amara rose to her feet. She climbed the stage slowly, every step echoing the journey from courtroom shame to global triumph. The presenter handed her the crystal award. Its weight in her hands made her tremble, not with fear but with gratitude. She approached the microphone, the room falling silent. She began softly, but her voice carried strength. Years ago, I sat on a broken bus with nothing but a suitcase and tears. People mocked me, said I was finished. Even those I once loved turned their backs on me. But today I stand here not as their victim, but as proof that no one decides your ending but you. Applause roared through the hall. She continued, her eyes glistening. This award is not just mine. It belongs to every woman who has been told she is nothing. To every mother who fed her children when she herself went hungry. To every dreamer who refused to die in the dust. We rise together. The crowd rose to its feet, clapping and cheering. Some wiped away tears. As Amara bowed her head in humility, the cameras caught her radiant smile, broadcasting it live across the nation. In a dimly lit apartment miles away, a flickering television illuminated the bitter faces of Tund and Cynthia. The once proud couple now sat on a worn-out couch, the walls around them peeling. Cynthia's sequin dress was long pawned, replaced by a faded wrapper. Tund's suit, once tailored, now hung loosely on his frame. They watched in silence as Amara accepted her award. Cynthia scoffed bitterly. Look at her acting like a saint. Cooking stew made her a queen? Tund didn't answer. His jaw clenched, his eyes glued to the screen. Every word Amara spoke pierced him like a knife. This could have been us, he muttered finally. No, Cynthia snapped. This was never going to be us. She had the gift. You had arrogance. And she trailed off, her voice breaking. I had greed. Silence thickened between them. On screen, Amara raised her award high. The camera zoomed in on her glowing face. Tun's eyes filled with tears. He remembered the courtroom smirk, the cruel laughter as she boarded the bus. He had thought she was finished. Now she owned a life he could only dream of. Back at the gala, Amara stepped down from the stage. Reporters swarmed, microphones thrust toward her. Madam Amara, what do you say to women abandoned by their husbands? Madam, what's the secret to your success? Madam, will you take your brand global? Amara raised a hand, smiling. The secret is faith, resilience, and never forgetting where you came from. And yes, we're going global. Her team cheered. Cameras flashed again. Mrs. Bellows squeezed her arm. My dear, you have become more than a businesswoman. You are a symbol. Amara's eyes softened. A symbol is only useful if it lights the way for others. That's what I intend to keep doing. As the night wore on, Amara stole a quiet moment on the balcony. The city stretched before her, lights twinkling like stars. She held the award against her chest and whispered, Mama, I hope you're proud. A gentle breeze brushed her cheek as if in answer. Later, as her chauffeured car drove her home, Amara passed through the city streets again. Billboards of her face lined the roads. Mama Grace's kitchen, where every plate feels like home. Children pointed at the car, shouting, That's her. That's Mama Grace. She waved, her smile warm. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror. Madam, the whole country knows your name now. How do you feel? Amara leaned back, exhaling slowly. Grateful, humbled, and ready for more. As the car glided past the bus stop once again, Amara pressed her hand to the window. She no longer felt pain when she saw it. Instead, she felt strength. It was the place her fire had been born. And now she carried that fire into the future. By the time she reached her mansion that night, her staff lined up to greet her with applause. The gates swung open and she stepped out, lifting the award high. This is just the beginning, she told them. We will build schools, hospitals, more kitchens. We will touch lives across Africa. Her staff erupted in cheers. As she walked inside, her footsteps echoed on marble floors. Once she had walked out of a dusty courtroom with nothing. Now she walked into a home built on dignity, resilience, and victory. She set the award on the mantel and whispered one last time. They thought I was finished, but I bought the life they could only beg for. And with that, Amara's story closed, not with shame but with triumph, legacy, and unshakable hope. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.